I just wanted to share some of these stories with you and some of the things that I've learned about business, about connection, and I think are going to become increasingly relevant over the next couple of months. Because let's face it, we're in a bit of a crazy time. And in crazy times, we need to keep calm. We need to really do the things that matter. So I want to share some of those things, some of those insights that I've gained while I've been away. Hi, welcome to this week's conversation about power, where, to be honest, I'm a bit jet lagged. I've just got back from a week in the States, but I'm back and I wanted to share some of the things that I've discovered over there, which was a lot. It really, really, really was a lot. So I just wanted to share some of these stories with you and some of the things that I've learned about business, about connection, and I think are going to become increasingly relevant over the next couple of months. Because let's face it, we're in a bit of a crazy time. And in crazy times, we need to keep calm. We need to really do the things that matter. So I want to share some of those things, some of those insights that I've gained while I've been away. And that's what today's episode is about. So I was going over to Phoenix for an event, part of a group coaching program I'm in, organized by James Wedmore. I was over in December as well, and you may have heard me talk about that in a previous episode. But this was a group coaching program. It was a smaller event than the one I was in the end of last year. But it didn't exactly, it wasn't, the lead up wasn't exactly very easy. So 10 days before I'm due to go, I got a message that my cat, who'd gone walkabout about a year ago, had been spotted about 5 minutes away. So obviously, part of me is thinking, oh my God, could it actually be Leo? Because I've been on a lot of wild goose chases over the last year trying to find this cat again. And another part of me saying, oh, and if it is him, how am I going to do this? Because I'm supposed to go to the States in 10 days' time. So it was really, really complicated. I saw the cat, it looked like Leo, but and the cat was curious but wasn't coming to me, so I wasn't entirely sure it was Leo, but the markings looked so much like him. I thought the only way I'm going to find out is if we can do a chip check. That's the only way I'm going to be able to really know for certain. But no one could get near the cat, and the cat had been injured and it wasn't going near anybody, and it was in a bit of a state. So I thought, well, I've got to do something. Even if it isn't Leo, I've got to do something to try and help this cat out. So I had to arrange all kinds of things. I had to arrange a cage to be placed somewhere so we could try and capture him, so we could take care of him, because he was clearly wandering around on the streets. They're not a good situation to be in. So had to arrange that. Then I had to arrange a back garden for the cage to be put in, because you can't leave cages on the street, apparently. Who would have known? Makes a lot of sense. You don't want small children and random animals wandering into cages. So arranged that, and then arranged somewhere that he could stay while I was away until I got back. So it was a lot of work to get all of this arranged, and literally had to do it within 2 days. So just had to get on with it, make phone calls, sort things out. And then miracles happened. Cage gets placed. And within 12 hours, the cat is in the cage. Absolutely incredible. Great news. He gets taken off to the vets and to be taken care of and what have you. And then by the next day, I phoned the place where he was staying and I found out it wasn't my cat. So I just spent 10 days, in very interesting 10 days, because I'd met lots of people, because there were loads of people in the street who were really worried about this cat. So met lots of people, which was great, but it wasn't my cat. So all of that worry about what am I going to do with the cat while I'm in the States, completely irrelevant in the end. Oh yeah, and by the way, the cat got treated He'd hurt his leg. He'd got ticks. That was all treated, and somebody had offered to adopt him. So it was a nice ending for the cat. So Kitty Karma points all round. That was great. So then I found that out on Saturday and I was due to fly on Tuesday morning. So I was thinking, oh, right now, okay, so now I can focus on preparing to go to the States. And that's what I was doing, getting ready for that. And on Monday evening, I heard that my mum had been taken into hospital again. Now, my mum's been ill for quite a while now. So anytime she gets taken into hospital, it's a sort of, oh, what now sort of thing. And I wasn't sure whether I should be going to the States or not. But she sent me a message saying, to wish me a great trip. And then I thought, okay, right, I've got her blessing to go. So I'm okay. I'm going to go. But you can imagine this was not, it was like the universe was saying, are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you want to go? And then there I was in the end, flying off to the States. Also with a feeling of, are they going to let me in? You hear so many terrible stories at the moment about people not being allowed into the country. And I was I was thinking, well, there's no good reason not to let me in. I've got all my paperwork's fine. I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to do. But they also check social media and things like that. And I was thinking, okay, so I've got a podcast, Conversations About Power. I'm not quite sure how somebody might react to that. Anyway, so, finally got to, well, I was flying via Salt Lake, arrived in Salt Lake City. Beautiful, beautiful place, by the way, and get to customs where you have to say why you're coming and all of that, which is perfectly fine, perfectly fine. And he says, "There you go." And I walked, and so I got my passport back, walked a couple of steps, and turned around as if to say, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to let me in?" But yeah, so I got in. So after all of that, I actually got into the country, and off we went. Now, you might know that I really, I like the States in a lot of ways. I lived there 30 years ago. I really enjoy parts of the American mentality. I don't enjoy other parts of the American mentality, but generally, I think, Americans are generally sort of like friendly and, what have you. And there's a lot that to do with their mentality, the way they look at life, that it's up to you to make what you will of your life, that kind of thing. That was very influential for me when I lived there first time, and it's something that I enjoy, even though I know that in today's climate that a lot of that belief, the American dream is really not achievable for a lot of people. But there is, at the same time, there is something really motivational about it. And I just like the place. I like the weather, especially Arizona. Love the dry heat. It just makes me feel really comfortable. I just really, really like it. So off I went to this event after what I felt like was several hurdles getting there. And I hadn't really had that much time to prepare myself for the event in terms of what did I want to get out of it. Because I know that when you go to things like that, the clearer you are about what you want to get out of it, the more likely it is that you will get those things out of it, because you've gone all that way, you've put all that effort in, and then you want to make sure that you get the thing that you came for. So, and I find that it sort of steers conversations and what have you. So then I was sort of finally thinking about, okay, so what do I want to get out of these couple of days, apart from the fact that the sheer relief of having made it and having made it into the country. And, so I realized, so quite a while ago, so I was a single mom for a long time, and I was taking care of the kids, obviously, working to bring money in. I was always busy. There was so much to do. And with kids, you're always dashing left, right, and center. I was meeting people. Like, life felt pretty busy. But since my daughter left, it's been very quiet, very, very quiet. And some of you may relate to this. I mean, I knew that when she left that things were going to change. I wasn't going into it blindly. I'd heard about empty nest and all of that. I knew about all of that, but I hadn't really understood what it was going to be like to really hardly speak to anybody at all. So I speak to people online every day. I have friends at a distance, but there aren't many people in my environment that I speak to very often. And I start notice that because my daughter lives a long way away. So I noticed that it was starting to affect my ability to start conversations. It was making me a little bit shy, and it was really sort of affecting my ability to connect to people. And I was aware of this and not entirely sure what to do about it. And I think that's something that a lot of us have experienced as well, especially since the pandemic, that the way that we interact and the way that we connect has changed really quite dramatically for a lot of us. And we have lost some kind of ability or and often opportunity to practice our social skills. I mean, we talk about small children having less social skills if they were very small during the pandemic, and animals, the same kind of thing. But I think it's affected us as adults too. And maybe we're not that aware of that, but I have definitely been aware of the fact that in the last 4 or 5 years, then there's been less and less social interaction. And to the point where going into a room with 200 people is oh, sort of a feeling. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one there. So I just decided when I went there, okay, so for me, being around lots of different people, connecting with lots of different people, that is a big deal of itself now, especially. So I'm just going to focus on that. And there was also a question about something I wanted to do in my business, and I thought that is enough for those couple of days. I am going to be fine for those couple of days. And one of the things I really wanted to do as well was I've been in a group, which we call a pod, of people in the group coaching program. And I really wanted to meet these people because I've been talking to them for since December, and we've been through ups and downs and goodness knows what. I just really wanted to meet them. And you may have experienced this, you may not, but if you know somebody online and you meet them in real life, it doesn't feel any different. It's just you find out how tall they are and and things like that that you had no idea. They do have something other than a head and shoulders, and there's more to them than that. So I was really looking forward to that. And while I was there, I think day one, I got a message about my mum not being very well. So I just felt a bit shaky. And I thought, you know what? Instead of me holding back from connection, which is what I feel I've been doing, I'm just going to go and ask people to connect with me. This is not something I have learned to do very easily as a person. It wasn't something I really learned to do, I think, at home. It was more a group of introverts. So this was like a big deal. So I walked back into this room and I went up to two members of my pod and I said, "Can I have a hug?" With people I don't know that well, that was really new for me. That was really, really new. And obviously, I got hugs and it was great. And they kept hugging me and I kept hugging them back. So I've had lots and lots of hugs and it's been wonderful. And it just made me think a lot about connection, about, well, how can we make the kinds of connections that we want? And I hear a lot of people saying that they're going to work with people live now instead of just online. And I get it because there's something about that thing about being with somebody in a room that is something, it's special. It's special. There's an energy to it. There's a realness to it that however we do things online it just isn't quite the same. So, we all have to find a way of doing this. And especially if you're working online a lot, then it's even more important to make sure that you're connecting in real life and, making those connections and keeping those connections. And in a way that is also good for you. So what I know a lot about a lot of life coaches and energy healers are, you're amazing people and often very focused on other people and how you can help other people and not so focused on how could somebody help me? I mean, I've literally had to ask myself, okay, so what kind of help do I need? It's not a natural question for me. So for me, going and saying, I need a hug was like a really, really big thing. So if you're working online, make sure that you're also thinking about what do I need? What would help me? And if you don't have an answer at first, that's fine. Just keep asking the question, and eventually a question will come. Yeah. It might take a while, but eventually you'll think, actually, I would like this. And need feels like a big word as well, but want is or would like is also completely valid. If you would like something or want something, you're allowed to do that too. So I've spent a week thinking about connection and feeling into connections and really realizing that, I mean, one of the things that, connection is such an important part of our life, and it's going to become increasingly important, especially with AI. When you hear stories about people using AI as coaches, using AI as, as a sort of mirror to get information back, there is so much that AI can do, but it can never replace humans. And if we try and let AI do that, then we're going to be left with like a hole, a sort of a gnawing hole. And none of us want that ultimately. None of us need that. So it's made me think a lot about connection and how we achieve that, especially if we're working or marketing online. How do we do that? And as always, I think the point is that firstly, we need to connect with ourselves and what it is that we want and what it is that we need. And from there, we can make connections with other people. If we skip that step and we start connecting with other people first, then we're focused on them, which is great. And that's probably what you naturally do all the time, which is wonderful for them. But we also need to focus on us, and we also need to be aware of what it is that we want. So I always say, connect to yourself first and then connect to other people. And connecting to yourself can take some practice, especially if it's not your main skill of doing things. But you need to do this if you want to do marketing. If you want to grow your business, you have to be able to express what it is that you care about, the things that you want, you don't want, you would like, you wouldn't like, you need, you don't need, all of those things you need to be able to talk about. And that's why I created the journal to help you do that. And then obviously in other ways that I work with people, I follow that process too. It starts with you and then you move on to clients and other people. And the more I work with this principle, the more convinced I become that this is absolutely the way that we need to do things. Start with yourself and connecting with yourself. So while I was there, and I really was just connecting with, what do I need? What do I want? Asking for help. Sounds simple to somebody who can do it. It's it's a real big deal if you're doing this for the first time, 60 years old and thinking, okay, so ask for help. Yeah, that's fine. But what do I actually ask for help about? And and by the time I've thought of what I need, I've probably thought of a solution as well, which is hardly the point. The point isn't resilience, because resilience is a great thing. Being able to take care of yourself is a great thing. But the effect of asking somebody else for help is just keeps going. It creates such a deeper connection than I think a lot of us who have spent a lot of their lives taking care of others. We just don't appreciate what we're giving someone if we ask them for something. And I know people always say that, that it's an act that you're giving when you're asking. And I don't think I I don't think I really understood that, really felt that until, just maybe even last week. And, somebody said that, she was happy to give me hugs and it felt really good for her. And she really needed a hug and she wasn't really aware why she needed a hug, but she needed a hug too. I wasn't thinking about that when I asked for a hug, but that was the effect that it had. Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted to share today, that I think our approach to connection is going to become more and more important. And then it all starts with connecting with yourself, then connecting with your audience. So that's all I've got to share today. And to be honest, I'm glad I've got through this because my head is like the foggy jungle in there. It's really hard work to keep thinking, but I would just wanted to share some of these things that I'd learned being in Phoenix last week. It was it was beautiful, and I think the connection that I, really felt with myself is something that we are going to need more and more, especially when news stories are constantly pulling us off center. We need to be able to connect with what it is that makes us unique. And we're going to need to do that more and more. I don't think the world is likely to get very simple and straightforward in the next month or so. We've got a while of this stuff going on. So, connection to yourself, that's the way to go. And I'll see you next time. If you're enjoying this conversation about power, I'm going to invite you to subscribe. Just ring that bell. Now, I believe that now is a time where we need to be having this conversation and we need to be talking to as many different people as possible and getting as many different perspectives as possible. And the more subscribers there are, the easier it's going to get a wide range of guests to appear on the show. So if you think this is a valuable conversation, especially now, please subscribe and I'll keep delivering the most interesting guests I can find so we can continue this conversation.